Hey there, guys, it's Metro, and we're doing a little bit something different today, okay? Kind of in the mood to compare now that I got the logs working. As an aside, if you need help getting your logs set up for the beta, the alpha, whatever, let me know. It is the exact same as it is on live nowadays, so yeah, there shouldn't really be too much confusion, but either way, I'm happy to help. So we're going to take a look at comparing tank damages and self-sustainability, basically. This is obviously a very, very, very inexact science. I've tried to cut down on as many variables as possible. First variable we cut down was the exact same trash packs in the exact same dungeon, but the logging software does not work as well as I would like it to. For example, you can see that the average item level 777. That is obviously proof right there that something's not working properly because everybody is actually 810 in the dungeon. But yeah, we won't worry about that. It's also, you know, the pulls go differently. Sometimes I die. Sometimes the group is not doing as well. The DPS, like for example, we got a discipline priest. DPS is higher. We got that fire mage in that group. But for the most part, I think you'll get a good look at the amount of self healing and the amount of damage tanks can do right now. I have 3 tanks done. All right, Demon Hunter, Protection Warrior, and Blood Death Knight. I do not have Feral Druid or whatever Guardian Druid now. But that is not my fault. It is because every time I try to do anything on that druid, all of his 3 main damaging abilities get locked on 25-day CDs. You can reduce the CD by like an hour to 1 day every time you log out. So I logged out 600 times to get him usable again, and then as soon as I went into a dungeon, it happened again. So yeah, that's anyway. Let's get into it. All right, so. We're going to be looking at some peculiarities from these tanks, but mostly just in general the same thing for every dungeon. First things first is we're looking at let's hold on a second. All the trash, okay. All the trash on the way up to the first boss. All right. For some reason, once you engage a boss with the log, it combines everything after that until the next boss. So this is all we're really able to look at. We see the tank of the Demon Hunter tank down here. Okay. Yeah, I mean it's not terrible, right? But the thing that kind of shocks me is 60k, the number 32 million. This seems quite low, right, for the item level that we're meant to be. I'm really astounded by this because, yeah, I mean I do that much damage now. You know what I mean? Even in challenge modes, I think I could probably do 60k as a tank on every single pull, no matter how many mobs there are. But yeah, so let's take a look at the breakdown a little bit here. So here's the spell spread. Soul Cleave, which is the pain spender. All right, when you do damage with it, you gain the heal over time, which is really strong. We'll look at that as well. But so as you can see here, Soul Cleave and Immolation Aura are actually good. Now, despite me having, I don't know what the name of the ability is there, the leap. I don't actually see it on there. I'm not sure, but either way, yeah, the leap really helps you keep up Soul Cleave. But in general, I was kind of expecting the Demon Hunter, the Vengeance tank, to do a lot more damage than this, based on how Monk tanks were and even DK tanks at the time. I always expect them to be like a cut above of every other tank, but it didn't seem to work this way for Demon Hunters. Now that's AOE, so let's take a look at some boss fights, sort of. Let's see. So obviously the final boss is one where there's no trash afterwards. But the boss is bugged, so you don't really die. You die very quickly. But as you can see there, melee does a lot of damage in that case. Let's see Oakheart's probably a good example. It should be single target, but obviously there's cleave afterwards. Same deal there. In the cleave, the soul cleave is going to do high, but yeah, in general, you're seeing that a lot, right? So that basically every one of these tanks has one ability that does a lot of damage comparatively, and the more you use it, the better off you are. But let's take a look at survivability. Let's see. So yeah, as you see here, healing wise, let's take a look at the entire dungeon. So the entire dungeon, I do almost as much healing as the Discipline Priest, which, once again is an inexact science you'll see against other healers because Discipline doesn't do nearly as much as they used to healing wise. But as you can see, the Discipline Priest did pretty decent damage. So let's take a look at the spell breakdown. Once again, Consume Soul and Feast of Souls. That's that heal that I was talking about before. Yeah, it's really your only way to heal. There's actually a talent now for this leech here. You see this? There's a talent that you gain 100% leech when you use your metamorphosis ability. So that's pretty cool. In general, so now we'll rank them as well, right? In general, I would say Demon Hunter tank is for what I've played, underwhelming damage considering how much AoE potential they seem to have. But once again, they don't even have all their talents, so it's kind of difficult to compare. And then self-healing is actually, like, sustainability and self-healing, I would say is very high. Like, I'm impressed by pretty much all three tanks here. They're better than I expected them to be at sustaining, but of course, it's only a normal. But yeah, like, especially because Demon Hunter has such mobility. I mean, you could literally just triple jump away from the pack if you absolutely needed to. Like, that is next fucking level. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, if you jump twice and glide, the pack they can't hit you anymore. So it's like, it's really strong, to be honest. But yeah, in general, I'd say they have, like, I'd give them like 8 out of 10 survivability and like 6 out of 10 damage, right? So now we'll take a look at Protection Warrior. Now, Protection Warrior is kind of the exact opposite. They're obviously all three of them I like, but this was ridiculous. The amount of damage this class did is absurd. It's absurd. So their single ability is Revenge, and once again, like, just like Demon Hunter, you could use it very often if you play right, and it does a lot of damage. It now splashes. Revenge, like, it hits everything in front of you now. It's not like it used to be where it's only 1 or 2 mobs or whatever. It now hits everything in front of you. So the more you parry and, yeah, the higher you prioritize it, the more damage you're going to do as well, which I do like. So as you see there, the entire trash in the dungeon, I did as much damage as the actual other damage dealers. But then, going back to comparing it to this Fire Mage, right? So, like, I did 58k on, let's go back to all the trash. Yeah, obviously, I did way less damage on the Demon Hunter as compared to the Warrior, but the group did a lot less damage as well. So it's like, I don't know, it's hard to really tell. Let's see if we can take a look at a boss. Let's see. Yeah, so if that's a boss, once again, I die pretty quickly, but single target breakdown on the pull here. Deep Wounds actually does a lot. It's kind of surprising. I don't know if that's very representative. I don't know. I'm really hesitant. Yeah, see, you can tell how much of that is AoE. It's just that it just didn't log very well. I wonder if there's, see, wipes. Nah, yeah, it's too inexact. You know what I mean? But in general, I'm really, really satisfied with the amount of damage the Warrior did. Like, extremely satisfied. And on top of that, I'm even more satisfied with his ability to survive. Last build, I was really disappointed with that. Now you're gonna see the HPS there. That is obviously like, yeah, that proves that the Warrior has no self healing. Let's see how I even heal myself. I'm not sure. Ignore pain counts, I guess, because it's technically an absorb. But it's really not an absorb. It just kind of negates some of the damage. But anyway, yeah, that's, ignore pain is really, really strong. And shield wall is still, like, basically shield wall is like the only shield wall left in the game. They all the tanks had a shield wall at one point, but they are not what they used to be. Like, even the Demon Hunters one, it's good, but it's a very long CD. So yeah, when you use shield wall on a Warrior, you feel the effects. So in general, I would definitely say Warrior's like probably like 9 of 10 damage and like 6 of 10 survivability, just because he doesn't have a way to heal. But yeah, his overall inert tankiness is really strong. Like, it's way more, it's way better than I expected. Like, kind of comparing it to live, you know what I mean? What you see on live is the complete opposite. Like, Warrior's really a glass cannon in 5-mans. They really are. They do a good amount of burst with Blade Storm and stuff, but their active mitigation is absolutely pathetic. So, I mean, it's the worst in the game, no doubt. And then the final log I have here is Blue Death Knight. And you're going to see, once again, everything just get completely flipped on its head here. So that's the Blood Death Knight down there. I do want to show you guys, well, let's talk about things first. So the way I felt with Blood Death Knight was, I felt like my AoE was exponential. Like, it was insane. It just didn't do very much damage. And a big difference between last build and this build is that there was a talent that massively increased the runic regeneration. That is no longer in the video game, so I don't know if they're going to plan on changing something like that, but Death Knight is garbage now. It's just not fun. Like, if you spend all your runes in consecutive globals, you're just sat there for 5-6 seconds. Like, it's not even an exaggeration. You're just, like, sitting there meleeing. It seems like they're missing something pretty heavily. So I'm probably playing it poorly, or, there's some iteration still to be made. But what we do see here is Fury Warrior, whatever warrior that is. I don't even know. But yeah, it's really good. And so is Combat Rogue, quote unquote. It's whatever it's called now. not combat, but yeah, it's really good. Blade Flurry and Whirlwind, or not Whirlwind, Blade Storm and Blade Flurry are still insane AoE. But anyway, survivability for Blood is the complete opposite. It's insane. I couldn't die if I wanted to. I was pulling as much as possible to try to see how much AoE I could do, and yeah, the self healing is absurd. Let's take a look at that. So it's for the whole dungeon. All right, look how much Death Strike actually healed for. That's only 75 uses, and it healed for 20 million. You know what I mean? 268 average, and that's 17% overheal. Think about that. That's insane. And then your artifact ability. Look at the artifact ability. I only used that 6 times. Imagine if I used that on CD. Oh, it's unbelievable. It really is. Then on top of that, Blood Plague heals and Bone Shield, or Bone Shield still is in the game. That doesn't heal, but like it just works a little bit differently. So honestly, Blood's gone in the complete opposite direction. Like they basically have they used to have all these crazy ways to negate damage. Like in CMs currently, you'd have the double rune tap or whatever. Bone Shield, obviously you have the parry from Dancing Rune Weapon. You have the Icebound Fortitude, obviously. All these abilities, and then you do crazy AoE damage. Well, now you basically have no AoE damage and no single target survivability things, but your self healing is even more pronounced. Like it's really absurd. Obviously, with Resolve gone, this is probably gonna be the only tank in the game that can do this. So I like it. I think it's more back to like how it was in Wrath. It doesn't feel like MOP or WAD CM DK at all, like not in any way. But that's not really a bad thing. They iterate. And hopefully they'll kind of fix the DPS situation here, because it just feels like I'm not actually doing anything. So let's take a look at this now. Let's look at... So this was, I made a point of doing this on purpose. Like we pulled everything in the room with the boss, because I wanted to actually get like as close to a real log as possible. Like, if you're going to pull everything, if the log is going to record everything plus the boss anyway, you know what I mean? I might as well try to pull it all in one pull. And look at the healing done. So I actually did more healing than the healer, which is saying a fucking lot, because these guys were getting their ass kicked. So Death Strike, once again, is almost all of it. But yeah, Blood Plague, and we'll show you why Blood Plague is so good. But Consumption, as you see, 900k average. Like, what the fuck? I don't even know. But, yeah, so you see the DPS difference here. Like, my DPS has gone up almost 20k, and I'll show you why. It's because Blood Plague. All right, so basically Blood DKs have turned into Unholy DKs. Instead of this like crazy snap, like look how little Blood Boil did. I mean, I use Blood Boil a lot. Heart Strike is actually really good though. At some point in the dungeon I switched to it, and it's basically like the Cleave Heart Strike again. It hits 3 targets and puts the disease on 3 targets. So it's kind of back to where that is. But it's really good, no doubt. And I love the synergy with Death and Decay. As you see, Death and Decay is good too. So like Death and Decay, Heart Strike, Blood Plague on everything. Basically all you need to do. I don't really know the niche Blood Boil has. Like it spreads diseases still. So I suppose because when you have I think it's a talent now, but Death and Decay goes down and Heart Strike hits everything in the Death and Decay. So like Heart Strike is really good for that. But then Death and Decay is over. So that's, I guess, when you use Blood Boil. Like you would Heart Strike spam in the Death and Decay, and then for the like 10-15 seconds there's no Death and Decay down, you'd Blood Boil, for that duration. But anyway, yeah, so it looks more like, look at the dot, you know what I'm saying? The dot damage. That's pretty crazy if you ask me. It feels more like Unholy, but yeah, that's going to be that. So anyway, these logs are going to be included in the video. Like, I don't know. This is as good as it's going to get, really, I feel like, at this point. Hopefully in more, later patches, the logging stuff will work better. The dungeon stuff will work better. And more tanks will be available. I definitely plan on doing this. Prot Paladin is one of my favorite specs. And I like Brewmaster, too. And I definitely intend on doing it with all 6 tanking specs. So hopefully we'll have round 2 of this at some point. You can stick in touch for that. But as of right now, I would say, Death Knights are definitely the most survivable out of the 3 tanks I tested. It's absolutely absurd. That self-heal generation, it's just silly. It's really silly. In the previous build, I was able to solo the dungeon that was out, Halls of Valor. This one, not so much, because I don't do any fucking damage. Like, That was the difference. I did a lot more damage last build. But yeah, now the self healing is just absurd. It really is. Prot Warrior is definitely like the balanced of the three. It's really like rock solid survivability. It has no self healing though, and its AOE capacity is nuts. And then Demon Hunter is so damn mobile. It's hard to say that they're not going to be the best. It really is, and especially because that mobility could either equate to DPS or survivability, depending on how you play it. But anyway, that's it. Longer than I expected, but see you guys in the next one. If you have any questions or you want to talk more about this stuff, let me know.